Music evolved with human societies as they developed over thousands of years, from small groups of hunter-gatherers to large-scale states with cities, armies, and temples. In the civilizations of ancient Mesopotamia, China, Greece, and Rome, musical theories arose alongside musical practice. Music was seen as having a moral influence on character as well as a relationship to the fundamental structure of the universe. But it was primarily an integral part of everyday life, an accompaniment to work and leisure, religious ritual, and popular festivities. Written music remained a rarity, with skills and knowledge transmitted from master to pupil in an oral tradition. This is the first episode of a video series dedicated to the history of music. In this video we will explore the origins of music, its development and cultural impact in antiquity. Welcome to Viola Studio. Man, the music maker. Humans have made music since prehistoric times, when it played a vital role in social life, from healing and ritual to hunting and warfare. Traces of prehistoric musical practice survive in folk and traditional music in many parts of the world. The first source of music was undoubtedly the human voice. It is thought that as soon as speech evolved, humans began augmenting words with tonal pitch, as well as other vocal tricks such as clicks, whistles, and humming. The only accompaniment to the voice would have been rhythmic clapping and stamping. The human body provided the earliest musical resources. The first instruments. Humans found their first musical instruments in their natural environment, identifying objects, pieces of wood, stone, horn, or bone, that would make a sound when beaten or blown. Eventually, such objects were shaped and elaborated to develop their musical potential. Around 35,000 years ago, for example, Stone Age humans living in the Hohlfels cave in what is now southern Germany made finger holes in a vulture's wing bone to create a kind of flute. This and two ivory flutes in nearby caves were among items discovered by archaeologists working in the cave in 2008. Cave paintings provide other evidence for the existence of early musical instruments. A hunting scene painted on the wall of a cave in the Dordogne, France, dating from around 10,000 years ago, shows a man playing a musical bow. One end of the bow is held in the mouth while the string is plucked to make the notes. A similar instrument is still played by African cattle herders today. Idiophones, instruments made from solid resonant materials that vibrate to produce sound, played a large role in prehistoric music. They include slit drums, made by hollowing out a split tree trunk, a primitive xylophone, rattles made by filling gourds with seeds and stones, scrapers, such as a rough stick scraped against bones or shells, and plucked instruments such as the Jew's harp, a simple string instrument held in the mouth. Many types of drum were made by stretching animal skins over bowls, hollow gourds, or wooden frames. A range of eerie sounds could be generated by swinging a piece of shaped wood on the end of a cord, creating the bullroarer, an instrument favored by indigenous Australians. Wind instruments were made from conch shells, hollow bones, bamboo, reeds, and parts of trees, and were blown with the mouth or the nose. Finger holes could be stopped or unstopped to vary the pitch, although these early instruments had no significant melodic potential. Common heritage. Study of the musical traditions of tribal peoples living in Africa, Asia, the Americas, Polynesia, and Australasia in modern times is the best guide we have to the nature of prehistoric music. Although such musical traditions are immensely varied across the globe, they share many characteristics. In general, the music has complex rhythms that are tightly linked to dance and ritual gestures. It is also flexible in melody, following closely the patterns of speech, and is rarely made up of complex harmonies. Spiritual role. For primitive humans, music was an essential element in rituals and ceremonies that bound a society to its dead ancestors and its totemic animals or plants. It was used as a means of communicating with the benign or malevolent spirits that controlled the fate of a society or individual. In many societies, the shaman was, and is, someone who acted as an intermediary between the spirit and the human worlds. An individual with a special power to enter ecstatic states through trance, he performed rituals in which words, melody, gestures, and dance were inseparable, his voice accompanied by the beats of a drum. The shaman was a musical specialist, in that his song could only be performed by him. The powers of the shaman might be called upon for healing or to summon rain. Music as history. Another function of music was to record and channel traditional knowledge, legend, history, and myth through the generations. Thus, the famous songlines of indigenous Australians were sacred paths across the vast landscape transmitted through songs, stories, and dance. In West Africa, the tradition of the griot singer and storyteller survived into the modern day. The griot's tales preserved a detailed record of local events and celebrations such as births, marriages, wars, and hunting expeditions, as well as a wider repository of legend. It was also the griot's function to invent praise songs honoring the local ruler. The tradition of songs preserving legends and historical events is also still maintained among Native American tribal societies. The famous Navajo song Shinasa, for example, commemorates an event during the 19th century Indian Wars against the United States. The pleasure of song. Music in Stone Age societies was by no means limited to specialists. Although only a shaman could perform shamanic rituals, there were many other occasions in which the wider society could participate in music as individuals or collectively. There were songs of greeting, songs of love, praise songs, war songs, and satirical songs. Unison group singing and rhythmic clapping would often accompany the performance of an individual soloist. Native American music distinguished songs to be sung by special individuals from songs that were suitable for general public performance. Social attribute. In some societies, musical improvisation was considered a necessary social skill. An individual was expected to invent impromptu songs in much the same way we might expect a person to engage in witty repartee today. Music formed an essential part of the everyday texture of life. In the next episode of Music History, the evolution of music will go hand in hand with wider developments in human society and culture. Metalworking and the invention of early forms of writing were particularly important to music. The beginning of the Bronze Age saw the use of copper and bronze to make implements ranging from weaponry and agricultural tools to musical instruments. The latter include the curved bronze horns known as lyres that have been found in Denmark and northern Germany. Stringed instruments became more important, especially the lyre and the harp. When literate civilizations emerged in Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, Egypt, and China, they developed distinctive musical traditions, with musicians in the service of emperors and kings. Music History, Viola Studio Channel.